Everyone, welcome to GAFX. Today we have a few panel members, dignitaries from the industry to discuss on the film and TV goes the game way, virtual LED production, and the future of content creation. We have with us today Mr. Amit Naik. He's a business development, Epic Games. Hi, Amit.
Hi, Shiji. Hi, everyone.
Welcome to the panel discussions, Amit. And we have Mr. Viren Patel, who is the creative director of Zebu Animation. Hi, Viren, sir.
Hello, Shiji. Hello.
Yeah. We have Mr. R.K. Chan, who is the executive producer of MPC. Hi, Chan.
Hey, hi, Shiji.
Welcome. Hi. And Mr. Hans, who is the director of Scan 360. So in today's panel, Hans will be taking over as your moderator, and you can have the discussion, and I'll get back to you once we are towards the end of the session.
Thank you very much, Shiji.
Thank you so much for joining the panel here.
Thank you very much, Shiji.
Yeah,
welcome to the panel, guys. Welcome everyone to GAFX. We are this year in GAFX doing half virtual and half in person in Talalit in Bangalore. We are in the virtual portion of the show, so we will conveniently be speaking about virtual production. So to discuss this a bit further, we had a couple of questions lined up. The fact that although the content for VP virtual production is currently mostly created in one of the world's top gaming software packages, it still has to look far better than anything that's done, certainly in-game, and as good as or better than cinematics and cutscenes, because it's projected into these massive walls, these LED walls. Now, here in India, once the worldwide trend of using virtual production becomes mainstream, how do we get our local teams up to speed to deliver this material on a regular basis? What do you see, Chand, as the challenges, and where do you see the possible opportunities, please?
Okay, hi, Alice. That was a really long question. I'll try to break it up maybe from the last part and go up. How do we get the team up? We are used to a post process usually, and I think as we see the workflows evolve, we will have the VFX studios slowly transitioning into scheduling and planning assets, planning imagery to be more for a pre-shoot at a stage. One of the biggest challenges is to differentiate how much to finish for the final wall. So, I mean, for our experience, the in-camera VFX has still not reached that final high fidelity imagery yet to go directly to the camera, I would say. I think it is still at a stage where maybe we shoot for a more on-stage in-camera collaboration between the director, the DOP, and the actors. And that's where the content on the LED screen can be used to maybe frame better, to maybe know and take more creative direction and a creative decision making on set. And once we know where we are framing, we are staging in a better way, then maybe we switch to a green wall on the screen and we have a more high fidelity screen imagery put up in the post, like the normal post-production process. That's one way. And I know the game engines are working hard towards having the in-camera VFX reach a stage as close as it is to a post-rendering stage that we are as of now. As the engines grow, as I think the in-camera VFX workflows grow, I think the pipeline and the workflows has to be made in a way that we can split it on how much we do in pre and not let it go waste, and just upgrade that what is made in pre to be appraised to a final pixel, either on screen or post screen. For us, I think the biggest advantage is to use a workflow where the previous is not something that is just used for the director's knowledge, but the previous is used to appraise into an LODA or higher res later on to be updated in an actual shoot later on in the engine. I think the real true usage of the game engine is universal asset to be used in previs, on stage, and if the on stage in camera is not good enough, then maybe have an high res of the same asset to be post processed and be made better for the later stage. So I think that flexibility and that collaboration, I would say, is a big advantage that we have, because we know in India the directors get creative ideas on stage. They get creative ideas post shoot on stage. So the fix it in post, I think, has more horsepower with, I would say, with this workflow, because we can plan pre-shoot. We can maybe bring it to as close as what the director wants during shoot, and we have some advantages with this workflow to fix it even post-shoot, which as of now, it's a challenge when we go with just the green screen and without any virtual environment or anything, or a virtual character alongside the live actor in there. That's my take. I obviously dream to shoot a 90-minute film on an LED wall with the actors, with the final environments or characters live in the friends that know me. So I look forward to that stage.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, John. Covered a lot of material there. Viren, you run a studio, a rather large studio that does a lot of real-time work with Unreal and Unity and so on. Could you shed some light on how you guys have worked with this in the past and how you're planning to work with this in the future, maybe?
Sure, Hans. Thank you. For Hans, for us, the primary motivation is, I mean, I would prefer to use the term more real-time technology than game engine, because I know the genesis was for a certain purpose, but more and more of us across the industry are finding need and purpose for the technology, right? For me, the biggest challenge, Hans, as a filmmaker and as a storyteller, has been the gap between concept to execution. It's in CG animation production. I have an idea and it takes me years to finally see what it looks like, right? And technology like this, I think, is absolutely exciting, because what I can think, I can visualize, I can kind of pre-visualize to a great extent, and help honestly help the director see what his or her film would look like at a far earlier stage in the production, before many commitments are made in the project, right?
Yeah.
In terms of time, schedule, budget, pipeline, etc. Right. So for me, I find that extraordinarily exciting, the fact that we can ideate. And staying on the topic of ideating, I again, I find it very interesting and exciting, for the simple fact that if in a creative industry we do not have creative processes, where else are we supposed to have? So technologies like this help creative people come up can get inspired by what an artist can create, and take that idea and take it a step further and make this idea even better, but tries to stay within the schedule and the budget, which really is the guideline that we all try to work around, right?
It's always certainly a challenge. Amit, you're from the Epic side of things, so the creators and the ones who have created Unreal Engine, and the wonderful software that we're all using in this type of technology, and for many other things as well. What are your thoughts on how this will affect what you guys are doing moving forward?
So yeah, thanks Viren, and thanks John for your insights. I'm just going to piggyback on their thoughts here. So yeah, I guess it's a utopian dream of everyone here, I guess, to have that final in camera of, or you can say out of the camera shooting on an LED wall. And I bet we at Unreal are striving for it. Unreal 5 was was one of the major moves in that direction when it comes to handling the data, or when it comes for realistic lighting. So yeah, that's one thing. And I totally agree with Chand is that the pre-production stuff should not go waste, right? And being in a cohesive real-time environment with a thing like Unreal, it allows you to take those assets from your previous to your final ICVFX pipeline. So that's a big help, and that's a big it also allows the content creators like Viren to have assets which they can finally use for games, for that matter, or metaverse, which is like the next big thing that is everyone is talking about, or the Web3. So you are in a totally an inclusive environment where right from your previous to your final to your, you can gamify those assets, you can put them on marketplace. You know, the possibilities are quite a bit out there.
Chand, you touched a little bit earlier about directors who are using previs and techviz and so on in the walls and otherwise for visualization on set and for many different types of areas. What are your thoughts on the directors, for example, some of the directors who have not used this technology yet and who would like to use it but are not familiar with it, and some who don't want to use it necessarily? They're used to the old-fashioned method of shooting green screen and doing everything in post-production. Any thoughts on how they can be converted and brought into the fold for this?
I don't feel necessarily someone is completely adverse to the idea of not using it. I think they are open for it. Our experience has been that once they see in use and the benefits are clear, for example, like 100% agree with what Glenn is saying, able to make creative decisions earlier and fail early, I think is the biggest advantage of having a real-time engine in place. I mean, if we are able to see have an LED screen, have a dummy actor, have the director, the DOP, see an almost final previous version of how the look is going to be of a city, an environment, a room, a surreal world, which earlier used to be only a concept artwork, and then they would wait for months before actually they can see it. And they couldn't combine their actors along with even the performance along with the environment earlier, that they can see, and then maybe they can decide on their cameras before. One big advantage that we feel, I would say, the real-time engine. For us, virtual production is not equal to LED screens. For us, virtual production is pre, on, shoot, and post, all three. Right?
All together.
Correct. So if we look at virtual production in that way, virtual scouting of able to know and go to a certain place or environment where they shoot, having a scan place of the city, like you want to go and shoot in Flora Fountain, you have a scan, have one guy go out, scan the place, see it in virtual scout, know your cameras, put a dummy actor in it, know where and how which shoots can do, have a big action sequence, do a fly through, whichever camera you want to choose in that engine, which matches to the options that you would have in the real camera, I think is a big advantage. We were shooting recently where just before the actual shoot, the DOP could get it in her hand and she could really imagine how he could run around it. Using an NCAM to be able to feel what the shoot is going to be with no green screen, but an actual CG or virtual environment, which people are used to seeing only later, and then change their mind or they decide or be restricted, not be able to change their mind, I think is the biggest boon. More than directors, I would say for DOPs, if we can convert more and more DOPs to accept this as a tool of decision making rather than a tool of final, you know, look in camera, I think that's a big win by itself.
Yeah,
I mean, talking
absolutely.
about VFX in its own, it would reduce our lives and a pain in our lives more to reduce the decision making being taken after an animation or a CG character environment has been integrated into a shot much earlier, rather
Yeah.
than doing it after edit is done and a character is animated, you have plugged everything in, and then you decide, hey, you know what? Why don't we do 360 instead of just a simple zoom in? That's a very, very valid point, but you know how it will make the VFX artist and the studio's life go haywire when you take such a large decision. You can take that decision at a stage where nothing is produced fully with
Yeah.
dummy actor or a character, even real actor. I mean, with Encam and Moses and all this technology out there, disguise and all, we can take those decisions out there. I think that is the advantage of virtual production. I would feel is a bigger win for us in an industry which is very agile. Let's use that word. That we are agile in our decision making and creative processes. Most of the traditional directors make the film on the edit table, meaning they would shoot all possible angles because they're used to live and then take the decision on the edit table. But for VFX, we are used to a board or a previous and then decide on what to do. So I think this is a good middle path, right? Where you say, you know what, play around, do whatever you wish to.
Yeah.
Why don't you try and make a version of your film which is maybe 80% close to what you do in the edit table in the sequencer, inside in the edit table? I think if we are able to get that win, that by itself is a much bigger win than frankly, you know, going into the LED and getting something out.
Absolutely. And on this subject of using all these expensive toys and everything, of course, the producers are always, you know, they're the ones who hold the money, and they're the ones who give us the green light to go ahead and do these wonderful projects in whichever format we want, or usually whichever format makes more sense for the budget. Amit, have you seen any cases where, I mean, obviously, this technology is designed to save money. If it's done properly, it will save money. Have you guys gotten any feedback at Epic or Unreal about this?
Yeah, so as John rightly said, you know, virtual production is just not an LED, because especially in a country like India, where I guess 95% or maybe 99% of VFX is still done using green screen. So having the camera tracking equipment like Moses, Encams, Type, and the others, and seeing your environments and your assets real time for a DOP is a big help.
Definitely.
Now he or she is seeing it real time. They know exactly what they want. They know the angles. They can lock and block whatever they want on the set instead of going back and forth. So yeah, that's, and yeah, I guess it's a big time saver, and saving time and saving money.
Absolutely. And Viren, in your studio, have you, when you've done any kind of real time and previous stuff, you've seen a savings in productions? Have you seen it being cost effective?
Yes, Hans. Obviously, we have. But if you could let me just step back a bit, and
Absolutely.
For me, when we talk about pre-visualization, as indie studios and indie filmmakers, right, aspiring filmmakers in a developing nation, we have different challenges. For me, technologies like this honestly democratize filmmaking, right? Complex technology is available for more of us, and that's absolutely amazing, right? Second thing, 20 years, 25 years, Indian animation industry has evolved on the back of outsource. That is, we have managed to get assignments from the West. India adapting to technology like this and stepping into disciplines like pre-visualization, it helps artists, technicians, engineers, thinkers to slowly move up the value chain.
Mm.
Even in outsource model, we start, obviously it's the industry, the Indian industry is going to benefit ridiculously amazing by it, right? By that knowledge transfer. But also in this model of outsource, we can also move up the value chain. The reason I'm talking a completely different topic, because I mean, I agree with
Well,
what
it's not a different topic, actually. It's the same topic, just a different.
I mean, I'm taking it slightly different. I mean, I agree with Amit and Chand, right, on what it can do. But as an entrepreneur, these are the challenges that I face and the challenges that my peers face, right,
Yeah.
within India. And I'm like, hey, this is leveling the playing field suddenly. Like now the limitation is my ability and not the budget or access to very complex technology that only a premium team can access.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful. So in terms of being, to answer your question, Hans, yes, at Zebu, we are using Previs, we are using real-time tech in all our shows right now at this moment at Zebu are on real-time technology. They're on either on Unity or on Unreal at this point, all the shows. So we certainly have seen a huge benefit, and the biggest impetus for us is our ability to produce higher quality within the same budget. And as an aspiring young studio, not me, young studio, I think that's a goal that we really want to chase, being able to produce higher quality content rather than quantity of content that we can create. So this
Absolutely.
is really helping us go in that direction.
Absolutely. Chand, in terms of virtual production and this type of technology moving forward here in the Indian landscape, as Viren was mentioning, it's benefited his studio a lot. Viren's studio does a lot of television work and film work in the animation field. We know this. Where do you see this technology benefiting moving forward in India in the production landscape? Television, film, and animation. Do you have any ideas on where maybe it'll go? You guys at MPC and Technicolor are doing cutting edge stuff for everyone in the world. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak of all the three lines now because we did the Unreal short film and the team really did work. Viren's team did that lovely cutting edge work. I remember the stylized one, and I was gunning for that one, honestly, but my team kept telling me because I really like that look in the dialogues. So we use all three. We use the gaming team, we use the advertising team, we use the animation team, and we use the VFX team of MPC. So in all of these streams, if you look into it, the way that real-time technology and virtual production is being used is for different styles. Right? I mean, I know of the milk using it for their car commercials, more than anything. I know that we're using that for many large corporate, like videos. That's something that is happening. We know that we are setting up a large studio in LA, and very soon there will be plans for other parts of the world as well. And like Unity was used for virtual production on the first Lion King, and that paved ways, and that technique still is there. It's just being mounted to new ways how we can do similar films like that. And it has also changed to smaller home scale, where rather than everything being large studio scale, we can use real time in the basement of your home where,
Yeah.
in COVID, people could collaborate much better.
Yeah.
Use the real-time technology to do previous, do virtual scouting, and integrate workflows. Uh, for India, I think if we divide it into three levels, if we divide it to indie filmmaking, or if we divide it to people who are into stuff like corporate videos, like let's look at people who enter, and someone has a camera wants to shoot something, Most of the people do music videos, events, corporate videos. 20 years back, that's how we all kind of started because that's what clients used to pay for. Imagine you're able to take the senior management professional from that company or that corporate and you're able to transport him to anywhere at any place live with him turning around and speaking and pointing to the right product at the right way on the LED screen as compared to elsewhere where in the green screen he points somewhere else and then the graphic designer has to kind of like pull in the videos or stretch and squash the screens. So I think we have empowered that industry quite well, and it's growing massively.
Indeed, yeah, absolutely. Amit, are you guys at Epic seeing any trends worldwide? Are you seeing anything? You must have numbers on this, or I'm not sure if you do or not, but are you seeing more trends towards on television productions or film sets or animated series? Where are you seeing the trends going, if any?
Just to add to what Chan said, we are seeing a lot of interest among the animation companies to move real time. We are seeing a lot of corporate projects happening with use of XR technology, using the Unreal and other real-time engines to, have the top boss of a corporate go anywhere, be in its own 3D factory and pointing out to products, etc. A lot of ad commercials. In India, we are seeing some of the DOPs making music videos using ICVFX, using the LED volumes. Some of the recent movies have been using LED technologies. So yeah, I guess it's a spread out thing. We are seeing the interest in right from animation to corporate to engineering, architecture, simulation, all of it.
Across the board, really, everywhere.
Everywhere.
Very, very interesting. Viren, any thoughts on this, Viren, on the possible direction for this outside of animation, which is your specialty?
No, I mean, I completely agree with Amit and Chand on that. No, I think that's really, I mean, this is a technology that I think will transcend. And anywhere where visual is needed, this is a technology that will become part of it, right? This is a technology that will find a way to be needed.
Absolutely. Well, it's certainly a very, very exciting time to be in this industry. And I'd like to just thank Viren and Chand and Amit for their insights in this panel. And hopefully we've shed a little bit of light on this for all of you at GAFX. Thank you all very, very much for being here. And thank you for enjoying and watching this video. Thank you all very much.